Today we're gonna compare leg extensions to sissy squats. So the biggest thing with these is gonna be pretty obvious as soon as you start with them, is that leg extensions are going to train your shortened range of motion for your quads, and sissy squats are going to fully lengthen your quads. So that is going to have a lot of application benefits and also drawbacks potentially for programming, but the biggest thing is to understand that both movements are knee extension isolation movements. So they are going to isolate your quads. The sissy squats are gonna have a couple of other variables, and they're mostly mobility concerns as well. But for the most part, it's best to just understand and start to like think of both of them as knee extension isolation movements, quad isolation movements, and then leg extension as fully shortening, and sissy squats as fully lengthening your quads. So pretty sure most people have a pretty good understanding of how to perform a leg extension. So make sure that you do it with a safe machine. I'll just pretend like I'm leaning back against that. So you wanna stay upright here, and the biggest thing is making sure that your torso angle is somewhat forward. So if you're leaning all the way back, you are going to kind of negate some of that full shortening that you get from a leg extension. So here, being able to fully extend and contract your quads at the top is gonna be a product somewhat of your hip flexion. So you wanna make sure that you are sitting up tall and you're not leaning back too far. And you can really try and pull your legs up whenever you're in contraction to even further shorten your quads as well, just to get some hip flexion in there. But now whenever you come over to sissy squats, from a mechanics perspective or from a knee flexion, knee extension perspective, it's going to be a pretty similar movement. There's not gonna be too much different that's going on at the actual knee, but what will be different is what's going on at the hip and then the forces that the knee is experiencing, that the quads are experiencing. So here, I like to do sissy squats with some upper body assistance. Some people are really strong, have a lot of confidence in themselves. I don't, so I use some upper body assistance. So with sissy squats, you wanna make sure that you keep your hips extended all the way, and you slowly allow your weight to transfer into the balls of your toes and allow your knees to translate forward. So as I'm doing this, I'm going to slowly allow myself to go down. And once I get a full stretch in my quads and I can't get much more knee flexion, I'm just gonna extend back up. So here, you wanna make sure that you take really slow eccentric as well, because if not, you are gonna experience a lot of forces at the knee joint. Slow eccentric can kind of mitigate that, but you are gonna feel a little bit of pulling and tension. But as long as you warm up well, that should not actually bother your knees. I actually have some pretty janky, beat up knees, and sissy squats actually feel pretty good for me. So your knees should be able to withstand that. So with both of these movements, you wanna make sure that you understand the application. So leg extensions are going to be much better for pure metabolic stress because they're gonna be training your fully shortened aspect of the quads. By the opposite side of things, sissy squats are going to be fully lengthening and much more damaging to the quad muscle. So you're gonna get a lot more mechanical tension, a lot more muscle damage that's actually gonna happen because those muscle fibers are gonna be fraying as you go into that deep stretch. The sissy squats are also gonna be a lot better for training mobility aspects of your ankle, knees, even hips, whereas leg extensions are just like a very isolated movement, so you're not gonna get too much outside of just the pure knee extension aspect of the movement itself. But both of them are pure knee extension isolation movements, even though I would say that they have very different use cases. So it's very important to understand that, important to understand where each one might slot in a program. Leg extensions are gonna be much more metabolic, probably not gonna wanna go too heavy on that because it might beat your knees up. Whereas sissy squats are gonna be much more overloading, much more damaging, and probably going to need a little bit more specifications for how you actually apply that, just because of those potential drawbacks. So make sure that with these movements, you understand where and how to use them. If you can apply them purposefully and intellectually into your programming, you're gonna be able to safely grow your quads either way.